I realized something was wrong the night I couldn't stop staring at a guy's hands in a movie. Not in a, wow, those are nice hands kind of way, but in a heavy, magnetic way that made my heart beat too fast and my palms sweat. I was sitting on the couch with my wife, Carol, her socked feet tucked under my thigh, and on the screen, some actor I couldn't even name lifted a glass to his mouth. The camera lingered on his forearm, the tendons in his hand, the way his shirt stretched over his shoulder. My body reacted before my brain could catch up. "Are you okay?" Carol asked, glancing up at me. I forced a laugh. "Yeah, just tired." It wasn't a lie exactly. Hiding who you are is exhausting. I'm Jason, I'm 44, and I've been married to Carol for almost 15 years. For most of that time, if you'd looked at us from the outside, you'd have seen a completely ordinary straight couple. Small house in the suburbs, joint Costco membership, inside jokes about whose turn it was to unload the dishwasher. But inside my head, there was this whole other life running alongside the real one. A life that started in a dorm room when I was 18 and never really went away. When I first got to college, everything felt like a reset button. I'd grown up in a pretty conservative town where gay was something whispered. Never fully spoken, I'd always noticed guys even then, but I shoved those feelings into a closet so deep I forgot where the door was. College was different. I had my own room, my own schedule, no parents peeking over my shoulder. For the first time, curiosity didn't feel like a crime. There was a guy on my floor, Nate, who wore eyeliner to parties and painted his nails black. One night after too many cheap beers, we ended up on his bed, laughing about some stupid inside joke, and the laughter just shifted. The air got thick, my skin tingled, and then he leaned in and kissed me like it was the most obvious next step in the world. I remember the smell of his cologne, the scratch of faint stubble, the dizzying mix of panic and excitement. We didn't go very far. Clumsy, hesitant touches, kisses that felt too intense for how little we knew each other. But it woke something up in me that never went back to sleep. For a month or two, we made out occasionally when we were both drunk enough to pretend it didn't mean anything. Then I started dating a girl named Rachel, and that became my whole universe. Rachel and I were together all 4 years. She was sweet and funny and smart and very, very female. With her, I could perform the version of myself everyone expected: straight boyfriend, eventual husband. The stuff with Nate became a weird footnote in my brain, something I filed under college experimentation and tried not to examine too closely fast forward 20 years. And I'm married to Carol, not Rachel. Life took its turns. Carol and I met at work. We did the slow burn friendship to romance thing, got married in our early 30s, settled into a rhythm. I loved her. I still do, deeply. That's part of what made everything so confusing. How could I crave something else so fiercely and still be so in love with her? The fantasies started as flickers. A guy at the gym on the rowing machine, the line of his back under his t-shirt. A trans woman on my Instagram Explore page, laughing into the camera with this effortless, luminous confidence. I would scroll past so quickly my thumb blurred, and then scroll back as if by accident, my chest tight. I told myself it was just admiration, maybe a bit of envy. But late at night, when Carol was asleep beside me and the house was quiet, the images came back. My mind filled with scenes I'd never let myself imagine clearly before. Being close to a man, to a trans woman, to a body like mine and unlike mine, to a kind of intimacy I'd only brushed up against once in that dorm room. For a long time, I dealt with it by pretending it wasn't happening. That's a strategy, I guess, if you count slowly eroding from the inside as a strategy. It got harder to ignore. I started having dreams, vivid ones where I wasn't just watching but participating, where I could feel the weight of another body, the warmth of someone pressed against my back, my chest, my everything. I'd wake up breathless, heart pounding, a swell of shame hitting right after the rush of pleasure. Carol would be there, one hand flopped over my chest in sleep. Trusting and warm, I'd stare at the ceiling and think, what is wrong with me? The worst part was the guilt. I felt like I was cheating on her, even though nothing had actually happened. These fantasies, these dreams, they felt disloyal, like I was holding some secret lover in my mind. But I also couldn't shake the sense that they were about me, not anyone else about who I was, and all the parts of myself I'd disowned. One night, after yet another dream that left me shaken, I found myself on the bathroom floor at 3 in the morning. The tiles were cold under my thighs. I sat there, scrolling through my phone, not at porn or anything explicit, but at forums. Bisexual men in straight marriages, trans folks talking about late-in-life realizations, couples navigating open relationships. The stories sounded like mine. That scared me more than anything. At some point, the answer stopped being, "Am I allowed to think this?" and became, "I can't keep this from her forever." Telling Carol felt like standing on the edge of a cliff and choosing to jump. I picked a Sunday afternoon when we had nowhere to be, no external pressures. She was at the kitchen table with her laptop paying bills. I made us both tea, my hands shaking so much the cups rattled on the saucers. "Hey," I said, sitting down opposite her. "Can we talk about something kind of important?" She closed her laptop immediately. That's one thing about Carol. If you tell her something matters, you get her full attention. "Of course. You're scaring me a little, though." "It's nothing bad," I lied, then corrected myself. "I mean, it might sound bad at first, but it's not. It's just complicated." She waited, open, patient. My throat went dry. "Do you remember how I've mentioned, like in passing, that I hooked up with a guy once in college?" "Yeah," she said slowly. "You've always been pretty casual about it, like it was a one-time thing." "It wasn't exactly one time," I admitted. "And lately I've been thinking about it a lot, about men, and about trans women. I've been having these really strong feelings and fantasies, and I feel horrible keeping it inside, but I'm also terrified to say it out loud." There. The words hovered between us. Carol's face didn't twist into disgust or recoil like the nightmare half of my brain expected. Instead, she leaned back, absorbing it, her eyes searching mine. "Okay," she said quietly. "Thank you for telling me. That must have been really hard." I blinked, thrown off. "You're not mad?" "I'm not mad," she said. "Surprised? Sure. Processing? Definitely. But mad? No. You're talking to me about what's going on in your head instead of sneaking around. That matters." The relief was so intense I had to look away. Tears burned behind my eyes. "I feel like there's this part of me I never let exist," I said, "and it's getting louder. I keep wondering what it would be like to actually explore it. To be with a man again, or a trans woman, to be close to someone who doesn't fit the straight script." She was quiet for a long moment, tracing the rim of her mug with one finger. "Are you unhappy with me?" she asked finally. The vulnerability in her voice cut me. "No," I said immediately. "God, no. I love you. This isn't about replacing you. It's about adding something I've been missing. But I don't know what to do with that without hurting you." She nodded slowly. "Okay, first, you're not a monster for feeling this. Second, we don't have to have all the answers today. We can sit with it, talk about it, maybe talk to a therapist. We'll figure it out together." That word, together, landed like a lifeline. Over the next few weeks, we did exactly that. We had long, sometimes awkward conversations in bed, in the car, on walks around the neighborhood. She asked questions. Did I think I was gay or bi or something else? Did I feel attracted to her differently now? What did I imagine when I thought about being with men or trans women? The honest answer was that I didn't have a neat label, at least not yet. Bisexual felt closest, but even that seemed too simple for what was swirling in my chest. I told her about Nate, about the dorm room kisses, about how much of myself I'd stuffed away afterward. She told me about a brief crush she'd had on a girl in high school that she'd never acted on. We laughed a little at how both of us had our own buried queer histories. Eventually, the conversations moved from, "What does this mean?" to, "What do we want to do about it?" That was the scary part. "If we did anything," I said one night, staring at the ceiling, "I'd want it to be with you, like, together." I can't imagine sneaking off alone. That would destroy me. Carol shifted onto her side to look at me. So, like fantasy fulfilled as a couple? Maybe, I said. I don't know what's realistic. I feel ridiculous even saying it. Middle-aged couple from the suburbs going on some kind of queer adventure? She smiled. We've always been late bloomers. Little by little, the idea stopped feeling like a catastrophe and started feeling like a possibility. Carol surprised me more than once. One evening, she came home with a small, discreet shopping bag and a mischievous look. "Sex shop," she said when I raised an eyebrow. "Figured we could start with toys, see what feels good, what doesn't. No other people involved, just us experimenting." That night was clumsy and funny and intimate in ways that had nothing to do with what was in the bag and everything to do with the fact that I felt seen. We talked through every step, checked in constantly. There was a moment when I caught my reflection in the mirror, eyes closed, face open. And I didn't see shame. I saw a man trying to learn himself with his wife as his co-pilot. After a few months of private exploration and conversations, including a few sessions with a therapist who specialized in sexuality and non-monogamy, we both felt steadier. Less like we were standing on the edge of something, and more like we'd built a small, sturdy platform together. One afternoon, as we were folding laundry on the bed, Carol said, "So, remember when I said, hypothetically, I might be open to a threesome one day?" I nearly dropped a stack of t-shirts. Yeah, I remember." She smiled, a little nervously. "I've been thinking about it more, about what it would actually look like, and after last weekend..." She flushed, remembering, "I think I'm ready to say I'm not just hypothetically open, I'm really open. I want to be part of this, not just watching you figure it out from the sidelines." It took me a second to process. "Are you sure? This isn't some assignment you're giving yourself to be a cool wife?" She rolled her eyes affectionately. "Trust me, I don't do anything just to be cool anymore. I'm 41, remember? But seriously, I'm curious too. Curious what I'll feel. Jealousy, excitement, both curious about guys who are into both of us. About people who don't fit the neat categories we grew up with. I want us to explore together with a lot of communication and a lot of condoms." We laughed, but my chest felt tight with gratitude. "I can't believe I married you," I said. "Good thing you did," she replied. "You'd be a mess without me." We took our time. It wasn't like we flipped a switch and immediately booked a hotel room with a stranger. We read more. We talked to our therapist about boundaries. No solo meetups. Everyone's sober enough to consent clearly. Everything's safe and protected. Any of us can stop things at any time for any reason. No questions asked. Once we had boundaries written down, literally in a shared note on our phones, we made a joint profile on a dating app that catered to couples and queer folks. I still remember the nerves when we hit publish on our profile. Smiling selfie of the two of us at a brewery, bio that said something like, "Married M44/F41, exploring together, bi-curious husband, open-hearted wife. Looking for bi-men and trans women who like couples, emphasize communication, and are cool with taking things slow." The first week was mostly awkward small talk and unhinged messages we immediately deleted. We learned how to spot red flags, how to say no thanks gracefully, how to not take it personally when someone ghosted. It was like learning to date all over again, except this time, we were doing it as a team. Then Aaron messaged us. His profile picture was a friendly, open face with dark eyes and a shy smile. In one photo, he was in jeans and a hoodie. In another, he was in a cute floral dress, eyeliner on point, legs crossed casually. His bio said, "Bi crossdresser, 34, looking for genuine connection and fun with respectful couples and queer-friendly folks." He used the name Aaron for himself generally, and said he also had a femme name he'd share once he felt comfortable. His first message wasn't crude or pushy, it was, "Hey Jason and Carol, I love how honest and thoughtful your profile is. Late bloomers are my favorite people. How's your Sunday going?" We liked him immediately. The first time we met Aaron, it was at a quiet bar halfway between our places. We'd agreed ahead of time. First meeting was just drinks and conversation, no pressure to do anything else. Carol spent an absurd amount of time deciding what to wear before landing on a simple black dress and a denim jacket. I wore my least dad-looking button-down. Aaron walked in wearing nice jeans, boots, and a soft sweater. In person, he was a little taller than I expected, with an easy laugh. We talked for 3 hours about everything from our favorite movies to how weird it was to grow up with no real language for queerness. At one point, Carol excused herself to go to the bathroom, and Aaron turned to me, his expression earnest. "You're lucky," he said. "A lot of guys reach out to me alone, and their wives have no idea what they're up to. The fact that you're here together, that's huge." "I know," I said, my throat tight. "I don't take it for granted." Nothing happened that night beyond hugs in the parking lot and a flurry of texts afterward about how comfortable we'd all felt. Carol and I lay in bed later, staring at the ceiling, talking in whispers like teenagers. "Did you feel jealous?" I asked her. "A little," she admitted, "but also weirdly turned on by how much you lit up talking to him. And I liked that he looked at me like a person, not a prop that mattered." We met up with Aaron again a couple weeks later, this time at our place for dinner. He showed up with a bottle of wine and, after some gentle prompting from us, a small duffel bag. "If we just end up eating lasagna and watching Netflix, that's totally fine," he said at the door, cheeks pink. "But I brought a few things just in case." From there, things unfolded slowly, gently, with an almost surprising amount of laughter. I'm not going to narrate the details, that's for us, but I will say this. There was a moment when I caught sight of Carol's face across the room, her eyes bright, not with pain or resentment, but with this intense, almost fierce tenderness. She squeezed my hand at one point and whispered, "You look so happy." And I was. After Aaron left that night, we checked in with each other nonstop. "How are you feeling? Anything weird coming up? Is there anything you didn't like?" There were a few pangs of jealousy on both sides, a few moments of unexpected vulnerability, but overwhelmingly what we felt was connection. Not just to Aaron, but to each other. We didn't turn it into a wild new lifestyle overnight. That's never been us. But over the next year, Aaron became a kind of regular presence in our lives. We'd see him about once a month, sometimes just for dinner and a movie, sometimes for more intimate evenings. Occasionally, he'd arrive in a dress, hair done, shyly twirling a strand between his fingers. Sometimes he stayed firmly in jeans and a t-shirt. We loved both versions of him. Every time, the three of us talked more than anything else about gender, about how clothes can feel like armor or liberation, about how sexuality doesn't follow neat lines. We teased each other about our bad taste in music, swapped book recommendations, shared stupid memes in a group text. It wasn't just about scratching an itch. It was about building a little constellation of connection none of us had thought possible. And through it all, my marriage didn't crumble. It did the opposite. Carol and I started communicating in a way we never had before. Not just about sex, but about everything. If we could talk about me wanting to be with men and trans women, about her watching me explore that, about how it all made us feel, then talking about our insecurities at work or our worries about aging suddenly seemed easy. I felt more honest in my own skin. The part of me that had lived in the shadows since that dorm room finally had a place at the table. I wasn't sneaking glances at men and trans women online with a knot of self-loathing in my stomach. I was acknowledging my attraction out loud, in the open, with a partner who said, "Yes, I see that, and I still choose you." We still do regular check-ins. This isn't some static arrangement. It's a living thing we tend. Sometimes we hit pause for a couple of months if life gets overwhelming. Sometimes we go on a date, just the two of us, and laugh about how we've somehow become the experienced couple giving advice to other late bloomers. If you'd told 22-year-old me, the kid who slammed every door on his queerness after college, That 44-year-old me would be married to a woman and also openly exploring with men and a beautiful cross-dressing friend. With my wife's blessing and participation, I would have laughed in your face. It would have sounded impossible. Too risky, too selfish, too much. Now it just feels like me, messy, imperfect, still learning, but finally whole. When I think about what I'm most grateful for, it isn't the dates or the experiments or even the wild, dizzy feeling of finally acting on fantasies that once lived only in my head. It's Carol, sitting across from me at the kitchen table that first day, taking a breath and saying, "Thank you for telling me." It's Aaron, smiling nervously at us in that quiet bar. It's the version of myself that finally decided to stop being afraid of his own heart. I don't know exactly where this journey leads. Labels might shift, arrangements might change, people will come and go, but I know this. My marriage is stronger, not weaker. I feel more honest, not less. And I am incredibly, stupidly lucky to love someone who didn't just tolerate the truest parts of me, but chose to walk beside them. If you're watching this and hearing echoes of your own story, I can't tell you what to do. I'm not a therapist or a guru. But I can say this: hiding hurts more than honesty, even when honesty is terrifying. And sometimes, if you're really, really lucky, the person you're most afraid of losing will take your shaking hands, look you in the eye, and say, "Okay, let's figure this out together." For me, that made all the difference.